Hello and welcome to this section of the TI-89 calculator tutor. This section we're going to use the calculator to do something really cool, and that is how to find the Taylor polynomial and also the Maclaurin polynomial of a function. So most of you guys have studied this in calculus class. Basically any function that you can think of, sine, cosine, tangent, logarithm, e to the x, whatever, pretty much any function that's differentiable that you can take a derivative of, you can construct what's called a Taylor polynomial. And what's going to happen is when you take them by hand, basically what you do is you start taking derivatives of your function, put it into the equation of a Taylor polynomial, and what you're going to get back is a new function that's going to be an approximation of the original function that you had. So you all know what sine looks like, right? It goes up and down like that. Well, if you construct a Taylor polynomial of the sine function, then what you're going to get back is an approximation of sine. It's not going to be exactly equal to sine of x, it's going to be an approximation. Now, to get more and more accurate, to have it converge closer and closer to the actual function, sine of x in this case, you have to have more and more terms. In other words, more little terms in your polynomial. And when we say polynomial, we're not really saying that it's going to look like x squared plus 3x or whatever. We're just saying it's called that because of the way it's derived, and I'll just leave it at that. You can go off in an algebra or calculus book and figure out and look at how the Taylor polynomial is constructed, but you have to take derivatives and you put it into this summation. And the more terms you have in your sum, the closer and closer you get to your original function. And if you have an infinity number of terms in your sum, then theoretically you'll converge pretty darn close to being exact to your original function. So if you take logarithm of x, for instance, and you take a Taylor polynomial with 2 terms, it's going to be a whole lot less accurate than if you took a Taylor polynomial with 15 terms, right? And of course, the 15-term polynomial, the 15-term Taylor series is going to be much harder to, because it has 15 terms. It's going to be much more cumbersome, but it is much more accurate. So what we can do is use the calculator to find these guys here. So let's go down past number 8, and you'll see Taylor. So when you hit enter, the first thing you need to enter is what function are we trying to approximate? What is the original function we have? You can put anything you want in here, but let's go ahead and do e to the x. So we'll do e to the power of x. So this is the equation. You might kind of convince yourself what that looks like. It's a regular exponential that goes up off to infinity as x gets larger and larger. Of course, it has a base e, which is a very special number. And what we would like to do is construct some other series of terms that approximates this guy. The more and more terms we have, the more and more closely it's going to resemble this, or it's going to calculate closer and closer values to the actual value we have. All right, so what we have to do is put a comma here and put an x because we're dealing with the variable x. So far it's pretty easy. Put the function in, you put the variable in. Now there's 2 more things you have to type in here. The first one is what we call the order of the Taylor polynomial. In other words, I told you more and more terms means more and more accuracy, right, to the original guy that we're trying to approximate. So if you put the order is equal to 1, then you're basically going to have 1 term in the answer. And basically, it's not going to be as accurate as if you put, 100, order of 100 terms in your answer. Now, if you actually did this calculation, the calculator would go crazy trying to calculate all these terms. It would take forever, but you get the point. The higher the order is that you type in here, the longer the Taylor polynomial you'll have, and the more accurate it'll be, basically. So for now, let's just leave it at, let's leave it at 1. All right, now the final thing you type in is what we call, where is this polynomial centered at? Basically, when you construct this guy, it's only going to be accurate near the value that you type in here. So let's put in 0. We'll close this off. What this means is we're going to approximate the function e to the x with a Taylor polynomial. We're going to only have an order of 1, so not very accurate, right, but very quick to calculate. And it's going to be centered around x is equal to 0, which means this Taylor polynomial, you'll be able to plot it and look at its values everywhere, but it's only going to really resemble this original function and get close to the accuracy we need around x is equal to 0. So if you're programming a computer, for instance, which is one reason why you use Taylor polynomials, and you're trying to have a really quick, fast calculation to approximate e to the x, you really need to take care to put the value that we center the polynomial around and make sure that what we plan to use it for is around these values of x. So if you, in other words, what I'm trying to say is if you plot the original function and you plot your Taylor polynomial, it's only going to be reasonably accurate around this value, x is equal to 0. Now, if you, which means right at the origin, right where x is equal to 0 is where it's going to be most resemble e to the x and be accurate. And as you get farther away from it, it just diverges and it doesn't get very close. So one more thing to say is that when you put x is equal to 0 here in your textbook, like in your calculus book or something, it's not really called a Taylor polynomial because it's a sort of a special case when x is equal to 0. When you center your polynomial around 0, it's called a Maclaurin polynomial. It's just the name of another mathematician that helped, contribute to this theory back in the day. So really, from a calculator point of view, no matter if it's Taylor or a Maclaurin polynomial, you're always going to use this function. If it's Maclaurin, you just put a 0 in here, and we'll type in some other numbers here in just a second to show you how we go about doing this guy when we're not around x is equal to 0. So having said that, let's hit enter. It's going to think for a second, and it spits out this guy right here. So what this is really telling you is that if you plot the function e to the x, and if you plot the function x plus 1, then around the values of x is equal to 0, where we have quote-unquote centered our polynomial, right around these values where x is equal to 0, this is a reasonable approximation to our original function. It's not really accurate because it's only first order, right? But it's reasonably accurate, and it's only going to be accurate at all or near x is equal to 0. Now, if we take this original thing we typed in and we change it and put a 2 here instead of a 1, then now we have a second order polynomial. We'll hit enter. Notice that we still have the x plus 1 term that we were started with, but now we have an additional term. This additional term changes your polynomial basically to sort of ever so slightly change its answers. And so again, around x is equal to 0, this is a reasonable representation of e to the x, but it's even more accurate than our original guy because now we have more terms. So let's go and change it to 3. I bet you might guess if you change it to 3, we're going to have even more terms. So we'll hit enter and you see we have exactly what we had before, but we have another term modifying it. So as we increase the order of the Taylor polynomial, we're just going to get more and more and more and more terms. Each, you see how this one is x squared divided by 2 and this one's x squared divided by 6. As we increase the number of terms, each additional term modifies the whole answer just a little bit less than the previous guy. See, this is divided by 2 and this is divided by 6. If we put 100 terms here, the 100th term would be very so slightly changing the answer. But each time we add a term, then this polynomial is approximating e to the x even better. But it's only at all accurate around x is equal to 0 because that's where we have centered our polynomial. When you start getting away from x is equal to 0 by any significant amount, then your answer isn't as good. So just for kicks, we'll change it one more time to x is equal to 4. And we'll change it one more time. Let's make it x is equal to 10, right? So it'll think a little bit harder. Notice that we've got these very large guys. Let's go up here and highlight this. We have some x to the 10 over a giant number, over a giant number, over a giant number. And you can see that these numbers on the bottom, these denominators, get smaller and smaller. And notice that when we get all the way to the end, we get back, these are the terms that we had initially started with here. But as you continue to add terms to your polynomial, each additional term really changes the answer less and less and less, because this is something divided by 40,000. This is over here something divided by 3,628,800. So this term here really modifies the answer very, very teensy tiny bit, but it's enough to make it just that much more accurate. All right, now this is a Taylor polynomial. Now, because we have centered it around x is equal to 0, it's really called a Maclaurin polynomial, which just means, it's just another word that means that when it's centered around x is equal to 0. So again, one more time, this polynomial, if you graph it, is going to reasonably approximate e to the x, but only around x is equal to 0. In other words, only around the origin. When you get far away from the origin, then the whole thing just doesn't approximate e to the x at all. So it's only good near this number. So with that, let me go ahead and clear all of these things out that we've been doing. And let's go ahead and drop another one on the stack and play with it just a little bit more. So we'll put Taylor polynomial down. Let's go ahead and continue to work with e to the x, comma x. And we need to put it in order. So let's go start with a low order approximation. And instead of approximating it and centering this polynomial around x is equal to 0, let's center it around x is equal to 5. So we'll go ahead and do exactly what we typed in before, but we'll put 5 for the last number. That's the only thing that's different. Now, technically, it's not called a Maclaurin polynomial anymore. It really is called a Taylor polynomial. That's the sort of the general name. Maclaurin is just used when you center it around the origin. It's just a label, basically. So we hit enter, and it thinks for a second. Notice now that this looks quite a bit different than, we can actually compare and contrast. We'll put a 0 here. So this is what we get when we center it around 0. This is what we get when we center it around x is equal to 5. They look so different because they have to be different. This guy, this top one, is only accurate around x is equal to 5. So it's approximating e to the x. If you were to graph this function here that's listed down here, and you were to graph e to the x on the same graph, you would see that around x is equal to 5, this is a pretty good representation of e to the x. But when you get far away from 5, this is not a very good representation at all. And that's why it looks so different from this, because this one down here is only accurate when x is equal to 0. E to the x looks totally different around 0 and around x is equal to 5. It's a totally different function. So that's, and the formula for the Taylor polynomial takes care of all of that. So let me take this back off the stack. I just wanted to kind of compare and contrast. Let me go and take what we typed in. We're centering around x is equal to 5. This was a first order approximation. Let's make it second order. And as you might guess, we have the original terms we had from before, but now we have another term modifying it. So it's got some stuff here, and it's got it divided by 2. Now this is what we call a second order approximation. It is even more accurate than the one here, but only again around x is equal to 5. When you get far away from x is equal to 5, it's not a very good approximation at all. If we go and change it from a second to a third order, you can guess that we're going to have yet another term. So you see, when we look at what we have, this is what we go over to the right. This is what we were given for first order. This term, in addition to the other ones, was second order. And of course, now we have another term that's, again, divided by 6. So it modifies the answer even less than this term did, but it's inching this guy closer and closer to better accuracy, approximating this function around x is equal to 5. Now notice, running around all over the place, we have x minus 5 cubed, x minus 5 squared. When we scroll over here, we have x minus 5 to the first power. And then you can think of this guy over here, x minus 5 to the 0 power, which is 1, so you don't really see it here. The reason we have x minus 5 running around everywhere is because we're centering it around x is equal to 5. That's really, in a nutshell, the reason. So anytime you have a number other than centering it at 0, you're going to start seeing these terms pop up. I don't really, it's kind of outside the scope of a calculator tutorial to explain why this looks different than when you put a 0 in here, but you just have to trust me a little bit. When you go and study Taylor polynomials and you look at how the formula is constructed, when you put a 0 in here, a lot of these terms drop out, like the x minus term. It just drops out because it's a simpler calculation, basically. But the bottom line, though, is that the calculator, when you type in a function, you type in a variable, you type in an order, and you type in where to center the guy, x is equal to some number c is usually how it's written in a textbook, then you'll get it there. Now, if you do something crazy, if you put something like here and you put something nonsensical down, instead of a third order, if you accidentally type in -3 order, so this is the order, right? It should be a positive number. The calculator is just going to spit back at you what you gave it. So it wasn't able to calculate anything because you have to have a positive number here for this guy. Likewise, if you put something in for, this is the function we're approximating, e to the x, the whole Taylor polynomial method is calculated based on taking the derivatives. Basically, the higher the order, the more derivatives you're going to take. So if you put some function here that the TI-89 doesn't know how to take the derivative of, then it's going to run into problems, and it's just going to it's going to spit back at you what you typed in. So if it ever gives you back what you typed in, then you either made an error or it just wasn't able to take the derivative enough times to get your answer. So that is about all I really want to say about Taylor polynomials. It's fun to play with, and I encourage you to do that. I mean, it's really great to check your work too, because when you're doing a Taylor polynomial, a lot of times you're basically going in, you're taking, if it's a third order, you might be taking 3 derivatives or something of the guy, and you're constructing your Taylor polynomial, and then you think you got it right, but you really don't know, because you look at your answer and it looks so different from the original function that it's just hard to say if it's right or not. But it's nice to be able to put something in. I'll do one more really quickly. So if we want to do sine of x, let's say, variable is x, let's do third order, and let's center it around x is equal to -1. Let's make it -2, just to be different. Okay, so what we're doing is we're approximating sine of x with a Taylor polynomial with a third order approximation, which means more terms than the simple just one order. It's more terms than that. And what we have here is we're making it most accurate around x is equal to -2. So we hit enter, it thinks for a second, and look at the terms we get. We've got cosine of a constant running around here. We've got x plus 2 up here. The reason we have the x plus 2 up here in the top is because we're centering it around x is equal to -2. We have the denominator there, and so we have a term that's modified even less. And then we have, these are the dominant terms here on the end. So if you had if you changed it to a first order, the most dominant terms would be these would be the ones that would pop out first. So these are the first 2 terms. And when you start increasing the number of terms, like when we go to 2, you tack on another term and to modify the answer and make it a little bit more accurate. But again, it's only accurate or most accurate around x is equal to -2. If you go beyond that, then the accuracy falls off dramatically, and you really can't use the Taylor polynomial method when it's significantly far away from that number. Again, the reason you have x plus 2 running around here is because we put a negative here. Before, when we had a positive number here, we had x minus the number. That just falls out from the way the Taylor polynomial is defined. So hopefully you've been studying that in your class, and you can kind of hopefully match up what you're learning in your class to how to use it on your calculator. It's a really neat function. It's really powerful. I encourage you to use it. Check your work, check your homework, but most certainly check your exams, because when you're doing Taylor polynomials, you're taking several derivatives, lots of room for error, so make sure you check your work. Just go up to the calc menu, number 9 down here, for the Taylor polynomial.